Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigilant Network Show. My name is Emma Vigilant, and I'm pissed off right now. I just got completely got by one of those damn fake verified Twitter accounts telling me that Kyrie Irving was released. This entire experiment is so fucking untenable. I cannot believe that this, baby bitch billionaire decided that he's gonna make this information company that disseminates information and people rely on for breaking news, his personal plaything. Anyway, welcome to ESPN. I mean, I thought that it was a fake Woj account that said that Kyrie Irving was released. And I believed it because there have been NBA executives who said that he will never play in the NBA again, off the record and stuff like that. So, hi Bradley, how are you?
We should go to a break. We have an audio problem.
We have an audio problem?
Let's just go to a quick break.
Okay, we're going to a break really quickly.
Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigilant Network Show. My name is Emma Vigilant. Hopefully the audio's a little bit better. We tried this. There was a bit of a hiccup. And there was also just an informational hiccup earlier that caused me to get angry. I don't normally get angry, I would say. I think that that's, especially in a professional setting, and it wasn't directed at anyone in particular, except for yelling at my computer, because I got by a new fake verified Twitter account pretending to be Adrian Wojnarowski, saying that Kyrie Irving had gotten released. So if you saw the title of the video here changing back and forth, that was because I was like, whoa, breaking news, Kyrie! And looks like that's not the case. So I'm just so glad that this billionaire psychopath decided to co-opt an information disseminator, a social media company that has hundreds of millions of users, for his own personal plaything. How are you doing, Bradley?
Well, I think because we were being slightly censorious libs earlier, that's why we had a bit of an audio problem. I think Elon immediately knew that we were talking shit.
Oh, of course. I mean,
he just cut the red wire, so we had to restart the program.
Well, we now understand that the free speech warrior Elon Musk draws a line somewhere, and that line is directly related to himself.
Yeah, Woj parody accounts are fine.
Oh yeah,
Woj parody accounts are fine, but Elon ones, you can't do that.
And I'm sure it'll be gone at some point, but maybe time to rethink the whole anybody can pay for a blue check for a verification process when we already are in an era when conspiracy theory and fake news is so rampant and nobody knows their head from their ass. Might be a good idea, especially because you're going to start losing money because no one wants to pay for your fake blue check bullshit when they can just exist on Twitter and not have to have a little sign next to them that when you click on it says, oh, this isn't, somebody who's a news figure or a politician. This is somebody who's a cuck enough to pay $8 for a subscription service so they can bypass notification filters and troll people. There's not enough people on planet Earth to make that profitable for you as you lose advertising revenue because of this. So I'm almost reported fake news because of this garbage. And that's what pissed me off. But what a start. Hi, Bradley. How are you?
I'm great.
I'm not great.
I'm having a good time.
We have had a really, really trying week, people. We were working till 1 a.m. on, if not more, for Bradley on Tuesday.
I kind of feel like I've been, I kind of feel like the delineation between work and home is the line is incredibly thin.
Yeah.
I sometimes forget where I sleep and where I work sometimes, or I'm just like, I walk here, I'm like, oh right, I'm back here again. I was here 3 hours ago, wasn't I? Or was it 8 hours ago? 12 hours ago?
Yeah.
Who could possibly say?
You need a vacation, I think, at some point. I mean, I'm taking a day or two off next week to move. That will not interfere with ESVN. But sorry about the rants. We obviously
we'll just mind this for content. It's all good.
Yeah, if you guys are a listener or a viewer that does not follow our other work, we are primarily political show workers. I co-host the Majority Report. Bradley produces it, and so we were very busy with the midterm elections at this time of the year. But if you haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this stream so it gets into people's algorithms, because we don't care. Or we're not going to be the kind of show that disseminates fake news. So you want to promote us.
Yeah, but if you're in the chat, you better like that stream.
Oh yeah, do it.
Better subscribe.
Do it. Under threat of
ejection.
Oh wow. You are such an authoritarian in this chat.
Yeah, you will be timed out. Permanently.
I've never heard your voice go to that register. It's a little laughing through the terror.
I don't know what's going on.
And then on podcast platforms, please rate us 5 stars and listen to us on there. With that said, let's get into some news. We have some really serious stories at the outset. Well, one of them's incredibly serious. The other is frustrating, but it's just Dan Snyder being Dan Snyder, and then we will get into our picks. But I've been wanting to highlight this story for a while, and there were some recent developments that made it just entirely necessary. So this is NHL story, and I know that there are some hockey fans that listen to this that want us to get more into the nitty-gritty of the league, and we will be doing that. I'm a hockey fan myself. So, but this was impossible to ignore. There is this player called Mitchell Miller, and he was drafted by the Arizona Coyotes in 2020. After that happened, the team had to renounce their rights to this player because Miller's former classmate, named Isaiah Meyer Crothers, I hope I'm getting that right, he spoke out about years and years and years of abuse at the hands of Mitchell Miller. Now, this Isaiah Myers Crothers, the victim here, is a black person, also developmentally disabled, and some of the details of the attacks on Isaiah are really difficult to listen to, and I'm going to read what his statement was in a second. So just a bit of a trigger warning if you're listening here. But Mitchell Miller, who in the end, yes, was released by the Arizona Coyotes, although their hands are not clean because this was a matter of public record and common knowledge when he was drafted. He was released, and just recently, the Boston Bruins, thinking they could get away with it, signed him to an entry-level contract. Now, the blowback was so intense, including from the Bruins' own captain, Patrice Bergeron, who said more than a lot of NHL players would say. And, you know, the league is so backwards that his, like, tepid criticism of the signing was kind of amplified because you so rarely hear any of this whatsoever, and you kind of have to go into it with an understanding that this is rare for the NHL in general, so any kind of lukewarm criticism is amplified, as I say. But it was incredibly controversial, and you will see why when I read you this statement from Isaiah. I am Isaiah Meyer Crothers. I would like to make a statement. I've been bullied since I was in first grade. There were not many black kids at my school. I was called Brownie and N-word. Kids said my black mom and dad didn't love me, and that's why I had white parents. Mitchell used to ask me to sit with him on the bus, and then he and his friends would punch me in the head. This happened my whole time in school. When I went to junior high, Mitchell would spit in my face and call me an N-word. I stopped telling because they called me a snitch, and I would get made fun of. I had to say I was his N-word to sit at his table, and he made me clean the whole table. He threw food in my face. I was called N-word every day. The office would tell me to stay away from him because he wasn't my friend. Once he got expelled from school, his friends started bullying me. He pretended to be my friend and made me do things I didn't want to do. In junior high, I got beat up by him. By the way, this is me now speaking. This was not, 1 year of abuse. This started, apparently, from when they were in first and second grade for years and years. He tortured this kid. Everyone thought he was cool, but I don't see how someone can be cool when you pick on someone and bully someone your entire life. Middle of October, I was being texted constantly every day till I saw a Snapchat and IG message from Mitchell Miller. He asked me why I always have my parents doing stuff for me and why I can't speak for myself. I told him I don't care what my parents say. I'm old enough to speak for myself. He told me he was sorry and that the apology didn't involve hockey. He told me he was doing stuff in the community and helping the youth and wanted to be my friend. I told him, that's cool, but where's the proof, though? He didn't give any proof. All the lies I have been told from him for so many years, I don't believe what Mitchell told me. Sorry, this is a little hard to see. I'll look at it here. He kept asking me to be his friend and that he had changed over the years with what he did. I told him, I'm not going to be your friend after all you did to me. I'm now getting messages on social media from people calling me a slow, retarded ass clown. You stupid N-word. Saying I need help. Mitchell isn't my friend. It hurts my heart what he did to me. So I just wanted to tell everyone when Mitchell says we are friends, this isn't true. I can't take more of this. I wanted to read that in its entirety, just given the the severity of the accusations, and how Miller has tried really hard to escape accountability. There were 2 boys involved in this bullying. They were both charged with assault in Ohio for violating the Ohio Safe Schools Act. They were ordered to do community service, to write letters of apology, to go to counseling. And the mother of this boy says that the second boy apologized to her son personally because one of the bullying incidents, including racial slurs, physical attacks, involved putting a piece of candy and rubbing it inside a urinal and having the boy Isaiah eat it. And you just see the obsession with Mitchell Miller, constantly calling him on and reaching out to him on social media and trying to just I mean harass him on a daily basis for years and years and years. And you just see the obsession that kind of bullying engenders. And, you know, that's why the mother of this boy says, well, the other boy apologized, but the only reason, and that's what Isaiah was saying in his statement there, that Miller reached out to him was because he was ordered to do so by the NHL in order for him to play. And that's why he said, where's the proof in that statement? And Mitchell Miller hired an agent, Eustace King, who was a black man. Eustace King said that he wanted Miller to, quote, well, he wanted the NHL to, quote, counsel, not cancel Mitchell Miller. So you can see what we're engaging in here. And Eustace King, his hands are not clean in this. He just wants a payday. I mean, agents get money when those players get signed. And that's kind of like the dirty waters that Eustace King is engaging in. But really the ultimate villains here outside of Mitchell Miller and the Bruins. The Bruins. Are you kidding me? It's like a original 6 organization that's supposed to conduct, and please, we're dealing with the Blackhawks. This is the NHL, and they've covered up sexual assault in their organization for years and years and years. So I'm saying this almost aspirationally. It's not like original 6 teams have any kind of added cachet based on that kind of standard. But they should be conducting themselves with a lot more due diligence and just basic humanity than this, because I understand this happened when he was underage, but there's been no real remorse shown. I mean, there's been, except when he was mandated to do so, and he can go live his life, do anything else, but you don't get a spot in the NHL, a highly coveted spot, when this is your history. I'm sorry.
Well, there's a big aspect of a lot of these stories that goes not, I wouldn't say unnoticed, but is just kind of glossed over, which is the idea that his agent put forth of counseling and not canceling him. That would imply that he's done literally anything to rectify what he did to this kid.
Mm-hmm.
That would imply that he's had any interest in taking any public ownership or accountability for, let's be honest, terrorizing, bullying, and traumatizing this disabled person of color. It doesn't really matter how old he was when he's been doing this as seemingly almost his entire life. So it's actually just been a consistent pattern of behavior since he was a child.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it makes sense given like that his parents did not encourage him to personally apologize to Isaiah. The other boy did, and you can kind of see maybe what that household is teaching Mitchell Miller. And you can grow up with racist parents and bigoted and terrible parents, and then make a decision to branch off from that and grow. But as you said, there's no indication that that's happened. And
it especially if it is true, which I'm sure it is, that the other perpetrator here made a personal entreaty and apologized to this person in person, not being compelled by a court of law to do
years
so.
Later, yeah, and then also in the court system.
If you require a court to mandate you to apologize for this type of behavior, and if you do it in a way, and if the only other time that you have done it is in a sort of expeditious way because you're about to get signed by another NHL team after the first one cut your ass, that's not sincere.
No.
And you know what? Like you said, this kid could be the most. This kid could, as Isaiah Crothers' mom, Meyer Crothers' mom said, this kid could be Wayne Gretzky. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
His quality of play has no bearing on this. The Boston Bruins, the Arizona Coyotes, the entire National Hockey League. This is a corporation. These are teams. They have no obligation to hire this man.
This
is a business decision. They have no obligation.
Would this fly in any of the other leagues? Would this fly in the NFL or in the NHL? I mean, or in the NBA or in the MLB? I mean, look, those are they have their own massive issues. The NFL in particular, but like at least it is such a massive corporate entity that oversight for this kind of thing is necessary in order to push back PR and blowback from the public. Like the NHL feels it can get away with it because it's an old boys club, and they don't give a shit about this kind of stuff.
Right, and when Richie, but the thing is, when Richie Incognito, when that whole investigation came out about him bullying his teammates and him harassing his teammates, he did get cut, I believe, by the Bills, but he did ultimately start working again.
He did. Yeah.
So I think the issue I have is I'm sure there would have been maybe a bit of a more rigorous process to begin, and that these teams wouldn't have felt as if they could slyly sign him after drafting him or after he was cut from the first team. However, my cynicism here is only that it does sometimes seem like when a player does something morally odious, that usually the bar for re-entry into the league is contingent upon whether that person can still be an asset to a team.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, Richie Incognito, and it's a good point by you because I hadn't thought about that in a while, so that contradicts what I'm saying. Although I do think 2022 NFL, after Ray Rice and Richie Incognito, their PR team
that was a few years ago. Yes,
but I mean, Richie Incognito was playing for the Raiders.
He was playing for the Raiders, and I think it might have been the Dolphins cut him.
Then he went to the Bills, and then he went to the Raiders.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So I mean, my point though about the NHL more broadly is that there's a lot that they let their players, I think, get away with that they feel is a lot more and much more that we don't know about because it's so insular, it's lower stakes they feel, and they like it like that. You wonder why the NHL doesn't market its players. They want it to be an old white boys club from kids from the North and kids from Canada.
That's why we can basically name like the 7 black players in the league.
Yeah,
we know all of them.
They prefer it because these teams, it's printing money to a degree, less oversight. It can be a little white haven for special white kids that excel athletically at this sport, and it's not like the NBA and the NFL where black people are taking over, right? I mean, baseball went through this with also like international players and black players. So the NHL is long overdue for a reckoning. But I don't know how much this changes, even though we get example after example of them trying to use their size to their advantage, in that allowing their players to act like this is a frat house, except one that they get paid to play for. And it sucks because it's just a beautiful, beautiful sport with highs and lows and excitement. And I don't think there's a live sporting event that I enjoy more than a hockey game, but it makes it so difficult to defend this this league when you hear story after story like this. And I guarantee you, of those big four, much less shit comes to light in the NHL than it does with those other ones.
And I think this will continue happening in many different sports until there is actually some sort of recourse that makes it more than the cost of doing business to try and covertly sign guys like this. And that there has to be a way for this to be discouraged There has to be some sort. If you purport to have a so-called code of conduct, and that code of conduct is routinely flouted by the people making these personnel decisions, it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
It's complete corporate speak bullshit. And you can't purport to say you have these values and that this doesn't align with our values when those values are constantly overridden when it makes sense, when they need somebody on somebody who can, who's good at face-offs,
right,
or can be a better factor in the penalty kill. If that matters more than this kid's life, if that matters more than this kid's being traumatized for the rest of his life because what this guy did to him over the course of their entire childhood, then there are no values.
Yeah.
And so until Isaiah Meyer Crothers says that the apology for Mitchell Miller is sufficient enough, there's no fucking counseling before canceling.
Yep.
Agreed. So he shouldn't work again until that happens.
100%. And we will talk more about the NHL. It's like, it's a month into the season, and so these narratives are just beginning to form, I say, as a Rangers fan whose team is just lost back-to-back games with double-digit leads.
The Devils are playing pretty well.
And the Devils look really good, so that's an interesting conversation that we should have.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, we will see. But, I mean, they have the offensive firepower. Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are playing at just another level right now.
Which is my good friend and I... he's also a big Devils fan. He basically was like, we need Jack Hughes to essentially be like, not of course like McDavid, but a guy who basically like puts up, is the points leader and like the assists leader, or like the points leader and the goals leader on the team. Like he just needs to be like the fulcrum of the team, and I think hopefully he gets there, but he's still so young.
He's just so young,
and very talented.
Look at him. Yeah, you got to get. He
does resemble a child. Actually.
He still looks like he is under 18.
Like put a little put some soot marks under his eyes, and he could be like a Victorian child.
Yeah, right. Truly, just Photoshop all of his hair out, and he looks like a cherub.
Yeah, like the Gerber baby.
Right. But anyway, let's touch on this Dan Snyder story before we get to our picks. So, the D.C. Attorney General was teasing it yesterday. They said they had a major announcement.
More good news.
And that announcement came. D.C. Attorney General
Carl Racine.
Racine, right, basically announced a lawsuit against the Washington Commanders. And it's a lot of the stuff that we've already kind of known that they were allegedly doing. But this involves, one, their toxic workplace culture, which included sexual harassment and allegations of sexual assault, and also a effort by Dan Snyder and the corporate structure to basically either defraud, and this is alleged, fans by withholding funds and moving things around so that they could hold on to more profits. I'm not sure if this lawsuit does include the allegations against Daniel Snyder for, say, withholding profits and defrauding the rest of the league with ticket sharing revenue. But those are some of the other allegations that have been brought against him. And part of what is so why I want to touch on this today is not because of the Attorney General's announcement, but I do think that is why Dan Snyder has been looking into selling the team, was because he knew that this was coming and that there's merit to it for sure, but that Daniel Snyder had this statement, or at least his spokesperson for the team had this statement. And it's one of like the grossest angles he possibly could have taken, the team could possibly have taken.
You mean Commander spokesperson Schman Schmider?
Right. That John what was the name of
John Barron?
John Barron. John Barron has this to say, and speaking of, I mean, it's so Trumpian, Dan Snyder's. Let's put this up. Like you'll see this here. Less than 3 months ago. I'm not doing Trump voice. A 23-year-old. So this is in response to the lawsuit against the team and him. Less than 3 months ago, a 23-year-old player on our team was shot multiple times in broad daylight. Again, despite the out-of-control violent crime in D.C., the Washington Commanders learned for the first time on Twitter that the D.C. Attorney General will be holding a press conference to make a major announcement related to the organization tomorrow. The Commanders have fully cooperated with the AG's investigation for nearly a year. As recently as Monday, a lawyer for the team met with the AG, who did not suggest that time that he intended to take any action, and in fact revealed fundamental misunderstandings of the underlying facts. It is unfortunate that in his final days in office, Mr. Racine appears to be more interested in making splashy headlines based on offbeat legal theories rather than doing the hard work of making the streets safe for our citizens, including bringing to justice the people who shot one of our players. Can you just keep this up for a bit? Because this dude, I mean, there's so many different angles to this. He opens with using his player who was assaulted and shot, and I think it was in a robbery, right? Their rookie, Brian Robinson, using him as a literal human shield for his own crimes. Not literal, but in the context of this PR statement, using the crime committed against him as a way to deflect and whataboutism his own corporate white-collar crimes, alleged corporate white-collar crimes, and then goes into a tirade about violent crime in D.C. Just a reminder, Dan Snyder, as I said, doesn't just bear a resemblance in rhetoric to Trump, he's also a Trump donor. So this is the kind of thing that he buys into. But it's quite convenient for him to buy into it because he's in a ton of hot water. And, like, this part about, as recently as Monday, a lawyer for the team met with the AG who did not suggest it. Like, did the AG have to give you a bit of a head start? Some headsy-upsies? Is that incumbent upon them?
Hey, just so it's okay, we are probably gonna just want to make sure it's cool that we do this.
Then just want to give you a heads up about the charges against you so that you can come up with some BS defense. I mean, the privilege embedded in this kind of statement, that as in the same breath he talks about how we need to go after petty crime and crack down on, maybe poor people who are stealing or gang violence. But I need the heads up when you're bringing a lawsuit against me. Why didn't you do that? Come on, you're not treating me very fairly. Crack down on all these other people in violent crime in D.C. Yeah, don't go after the oligarchs. Don't go after the people who are actually contributing to the societal decay. And I include wealthy assholes like Dan Snyder in that category for sure. Don't do that. Go after petty crime. And then also, I mean, let me use my own player to make it so, the sharp edges of my alleged crimes don't feel so sharp anymore. And Brian Robinson's agent put out a statement saying this was unfortunate, and whoever wrote the statement, was being insensitive, essentially. And I'm glad the agent said something. They have to, I mean, this is literally his employer, so, and he's a rookie. It doesn't like he has a ton of bargaining power.
Just remember, folks, you deserve to get the book thrown at you if you piss in the street, or jump a turnstile, or if you're a violent criminal. Which sure, I understand. Like violent crime. Violent crime is bad, but you know what else is bad? Every single thing that Dan Snyder is being investigated for combined. Yeah, that also warrants accountability. Just because a rich guy does it, and it doesn't make it not illegal. Doesn't make it not a crime. Doesn't make it not exorbitantly negligent oversight at best, and active chicanery in every aspect of his business.
And I mean, let me just read quickly the statement from the agent. Actually, hold on. I lost it. No, it's okay. I characterized it well enough, okay. But yeah, I mean, the other point too is that two of the people that shot Brian Robinson were just arrested a few days ago, or alleged shooters or criminals in this instance, right? Or people that committed the crime. I don't even want to call people criminals. It's so ridiculous. But
I want to be clear about when I say that. I'm not trying to minimize was it just a violent criminal? I'm not trying to minimize or diminish the actual act that was committed against Brian Robinson. What I'm trying to get across is the simple fact that using it this way like you said, as like a blunt instrument against the people trying to rein back your massive corruption, is disgusting.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean,
it is a publicity stunt, and it is flattening the actual experience of a player, of Dan Snyder's employee, to words on a page for a political fight.
Yeah,
he was shot.
Yeah, and
he was shot.
He's you don't take my word for it. You don't take my word for it. Take his agent's word for it. They were offended by it. I mean, he's using this, and it's just not even factually correct. Like, they are investigating this crime against Brian Robinson, and they just made 2 arrests.
Not only is it dishonest, clearly, if this was not consensual, if Brian Robinson was not consulted about this statement,
it's clear that he wasn't.
Right. That is as disgraceful as the desire to deflect from the laundry list of improprieties and indiscretions and inequities that Dan Snyder has committed as the owner of this team.
Yeah.
It is a absolute indictment of our criminal justice system that this man is not in jail.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, that is the update on Dan Snyder. I hope Brian Robinson requests a trade. I know it's like difficult, but I don't know. I can't ask that of him. But let's do our locks, and then we'll wrap this OT up. Now, Bradley somehow, he pushed twice. Like, Bradley has not lost in 3 weeks, and it's not like he's gone 3-0. I mean, he did the last 2 weeks, 6-0 combined. This week he went 1-0-2. I
just don't lose.
I mean,
that's the thing.
It is painful for me to have to turn on my television and watch as I feel like, oh, there's a good chance that Bradley loses this week. Maybe I'll get a leg up on him in the win totals, or at least he'll have more losses than me. But no, now we got 2 pushes.
I just sneak through the back door.
Cancel it out. Like, even when you don't have the best week, you're not losing. And that's just mind-boggling to me. But this week it's different. I got back on the horse. I went 2-1.
No, this was good. I mean, frankly,
the Packers thing was. I mean,
that bet should have hit. Like, that is a disgrace.
It is,
the Packers
and I almost like went all the way around and bet on the Cowboys to win by the line was like 5 points, but it was in Green Bay, so I just couldn't. I was like, you're being over emotional, Emma. You know, you're a over emotional woman. I should not be in any position of power because I might get my period at some point. So I should not be making these decisions about getting back at the Packers by betting on the Cowboys.
You were being a little hysterical earlier.
You're right. I mean, I don't want to fall into that trap.
I was nervous that you were having a case of the vapors.
Yeah, I really just need to make a pie for some therapy.
Leave it on the windowsill.
That's where I'm happier. But Patriots, that was the one I was probably most confident. Ravens -2.5. I might have said I was most confident in. The Patriots line was bigger, but that was a shellacking. And yeah, Bradley, you pushed on 2 field goal lines. 3 points for the Vikings, 3 points for the Falcons, who lost by 3 points, and then the Seahawks +2. That was an easy one.
The Chargers always give me chaos.
Right.
When I bet for them or against them, there's always some weird shit going on.
Yeah. So the Chargers, they're one of the most infuriating teams for me this year because it's
from all aspects, offensive,
they do not
defensive,
play
and
to their
betting.
players' strengths, particularly their quarterback strengths.
We've talked about it, but I think like it's a sneaky potentially like development.
Firing?
But like they should fire Brandon Staley.
I agree.
Just because even if the defense is not performing as well as we thought it would, which was his calling card to begin with, and Herbert is not playing that well, and the wide receiver room is as threadbare as we've seen it, and they didn't actually upgrade it before the trade deadline, it's a real indictment on the front office and the coaching staff of that team that they can't get more out of who they have.
I agree.
Other teams are getting more out of who they have with less talent.
The Giants, for example.
The Giants.
The Vikings. The Titans.
Like there are better teams with worse rosters doing way better than the Chargers.
Yeah. Yeah, although I don't know if the Vikings roster is worse than the Chargers. I'm like kind of just because the offensive firepower is so good, but
I guess nobody thought the Vikings were going to be 7-1.
Their defense is
and they're 7-1.
They have fine pieces on defense, but it's not.
And they're keeping them
they don't
in
have
games.
Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, who's out, or Derwin James.
Derwin James, right?
Joey Bosa.
Joey Bosa. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like it's. I see where you're coming from in the sense. I see where you're coming from because honestly, like Justin Jefferson is probably better than like any Chargers player besides Herbert. Or maybe on the offensive side, I'd probably say besides Herbert or like Rashawn Slater. But still,
yeah. Anyway, let's do our picks for this week.
Let's
then.
do it.
So I'm going Thursday Night Football tonight.
Yeah, you were following in my footsteps.
I am. I'm taking the Falcons. I was shocked to see them as just 2.5-point favorites. I know that it's in Carolina. Do I think that the Carolina Panthers have a significant home field advantage? Absolutely not. I do not think that. So I just think Atlanta is clearly the better team. Now, the Panthers do have some really strong defensive players, and it seems like they've gotten a bit new life, a bit of new life now that Steve Wilkes was the head coach, or at least I thought that until they got their shit kicked in by the Bengals, who do not run a complicated offense, did not have Jamar Chase. They're more talented for sure, and then you have Joe Burrow, so it's like, what are you going to do in those instances? But at the same time, when you have that kind of blowout, I just feel like if you have a blowout and you're still a competitive team in the playoff race, you haven't like traded away probably your best definitely your best offensive player at that moment in Christian McCaffrey, clearly just setting yourself up for next year. If that weren't the case, I would say, okay, maybe they'll get angry and bounce back. But they've already fired their head coach. They're on their interim head coach. I just think that kind of loss is deflating, especially when you're coming off a short week. And you're playing the Atlanta Falcons, who have something to play for. They are in the mix for the NFC South. And so Cordarrelle Patterson is back. That I think gives the Atlanta Falcons an added edge in their run game, which has been very successful this year. And I just see the Falcons winning by at least a field goal. Hopefully Mariota kind of cuts back on some of the more boneheaded decisions that he's been regressing towards recently, and they just run the ball. So there you go.
Yeah, I also just think like even with some of the pieces we really like on the Panthers, with the defensive front, like Derek Brown, Brian Burns, guys like that, like this team is just bad.
Yeah.
And the vibes are not good, and they are in a complete transitory period in the middle of the season. So
and PJ Walker's playing again.
Yeah,
so.
and PJ Walker's playing. He had that one unbelievable throw to DJ Moore, but like that also didn't even lead to a win, and also in kind of to contribute to the bad vibes, the penalty when DJ Moore took his helmet off led to them losing the game. So like it was almost kind of a double-edged sword, that phenomenal play.
And I would be a little worried with AJ Terrell out, who's really playing well.
And one of them probably besides
their best defensive
Grady
player
Jarrett,
besides
the best defensive
I would
player.
take him over.
Yeah, I don't
Grady
know
Jarrett now
because he's also younger. Too.
Yeah, he's a top 10 corner in the league.
He's
I
awesome.
think.
Yeah. I love watching him play.
So it is.
But the Falcons, I just think they're more.
PJ Walker can't hit the broadside of a barn. Like he throws the ball really hard, and you guys know I'm a sucker for arm strength, but there's no accuracy there.
No, that was kind of like the Moore touchdown too was like a prayer and an unbelievable catch by Moore. Also,
right.
It wasn't just like wide open to him in the end zone, but I just think the Falcons' offense is just so much more dynamic and creative, and if the defense can hold up like 20% more than the Panthers can, I think it makes sense.
So you're with me on this one?
Yeah, I could see it. I could definitely see it. I just I'm not betting on the Panthers in any capacity until they prove otherwise.
Understand. So now you are taking the Das Munich game.
Yes, of course. I'm hoping for max chaos in the German game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think I found this interesting because the Hawks are plus 2.5 dogs here. And like you said, it's a neutral site game. There's European travel, so maybe there could be some weirdness that goes on. I feel like there always is in the European games. But
they are actually 3.5 underdogs. That's 2 in German. Okay. Anyway, go on. 1, 2, 3.
2.5.
I don't know why I remember that from my childhood.
No,
okay,
that's good.
Yeah.
You got to learn it. I got to know 2 in Finnish as well.
Oh yes, right. I mean, there's no football game being played in Finland, but there is a hockey game that was just played there.
Just to honor your lineage.
Right, that's true. And Vigeland is Norwegian,
Vigeland.
and I gotta learn a Farsi.
Yeah, dough is how you say too.
Okay, gotcha.
Dough and a half, and for the Hawks here,
All
the
right.
underdogs. But the
I took us down this road. I apologize.
All right, the Duolingo segment of the show.
Yeah.
My thing here is that despite all those caveats, I think both the Seahawks defense and offense are playing better than the Buccaneers are now. I also think the vibes are really off on that team. Even though they had that close win against the Rams also haven't been playing particularly well, and it was a low scoring kind of slog of a game to begin with. I think even though the Seahawks struggled a little bit more last week, I still trust their offense to be high functioning and efficient, and their defense has only been getting better since the start of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically now almost more of a league average defense than a bottom 5 defense.
They really have been improving.
So my thinking there is just if they can play mistake-free football and keep the train on the tracks, I could just see I could see a Bucs implosion again, because we've seen a few. They lost to the Panthers.
Yeah.
They lost to the Steelers. Like they have had bad losses against worse teams than the Seahawks.
Hey, look, we're locked in, but I wouldn't bet on this game just because I find these Europe games really, really wonky. And also the Seahawks, if I were to bet, I might bet on the Bucs just because the Seahawks are coming all the way from the West Coast. But
it's going to energize them.
Yeah,
Gino's
sure.
going to be doing high knees on the plane.
We didn't even get to there's like some drama between like what Russell Wilson
oh
was
yes,
saying.
oh my God, yes.
But we'll get to that.
The wristband. Yeah.
Maybe on Monday.
Let's ride.
Wow. Let's do it. But yeah, I mean, I just look. I don't know if there's a desperation factor for the Bucs or if they have more to play for. But at the same time, it's like the NFC West is also very competitive between the Niners and the Seahawks at this point. So I could see it going either way.
Yeah, and I think maybe that might put some urgency there in the game too, that they are kind of actually in it for the division lead. So, but we'll see. You're right. I think really anything could happen, but
of those picks by you, I feel the worst about that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you can give that commentary about mine here. Maybe that might be how I feel about the Chicago pick for myself.
No, I don't know. It's against the Lions. The Lions are awful.
I know. And I just feel like they're at home, and the vibes in Chicago right now, despite the fact that they lost, are so good. And again, betting on vibes, maybe not the best idea, but
yeah, but this was Justin Fields', I would argue, his best game as a starting quarterback.
I mean, he's playing with confidence. The Lions, I feel like they get one win a month or one every 6 weeks.
They basically have.
And they blow their load. Excuse my the gross usage of that phrase right there. And then
we brought ourselves into the trenches and only one team returned.
Yes, and like it's just like they're crying after this loss against the Packers, and it's just all right, guys.
The game ball goes to every single goddamn last one of you.
And it's just like I just feel like they're gonna have some sort of emotional hangover after beating Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Plus, I just think Chicago's a better team and they're finding their groove here. I saw the stat that over the last 4 games, the Bears have a top 10 offense in expected play at an EPA per drive, which I feel like the fact that the offense is getting it together a little bit, it could be a bit of a shootout with the Lions, but I have more faith in the Bears right now, and I think that their offensive performance will finally net them a win in this game, and Fields is going to just continue taking the next step.
Yeah, I could see it. This to me could definitely. It's not as if he's going up against a great team. The Lions are not. The Lions are. Not only has the bottom fallen out for the defense for sure, obviously, except barring this last Packers game, which it seems like a bit of an anomaly, frankly.
And did I say -2.5? So both of those lines were Atlanta and Chicago winning by
after
field goal.
After you fire your defensive backs coach, I'm not expecting a whole lot of consistent defensive play, and also. The offense has sputtered from being as efficient and kind of as exhibiting as much firepower as they were in the first few weeks of the season. And I think the Bears are kind of on the opposite trajectory. I think Claypool has maybe injected a little bit into their game. I think Fields just finding his rhythm on the ground and using his speed, using his scrambling ability, as opposed to just trying to stay in the pocket and rocket passes, which he's actually doing in a better way than he has before with that awesome shot to Mooney in the end zone from last week. So no, I definitely see it. I honestly, it's kind of wishful thinking for me. I just want the Bears to succeed.
Yeah, so. and DeAndre Swift, he's limited in practice right now. That doesn't move the needle for me too much.
If he's limited too, if he's not even necessarily at full strength, we'll even see if it does a.
I mean, he had he's ankle and shoulder, so it's like how hard can you run?
Is not in good shape.
I know he's such a great talent, but it just seems
he's
like
awesome.
It's always something with him.
Yeah.
And it just does. Running back doesn't really move the needle for me too much. If I already have an instinct about a game, so right. I'm going with the Bears, but that's the one of the three that I feel least confident in.
And then for my second one, I'm choosing more chaos because I'm choosing the Vikings plus 3.5 over the Buffalo Bills. The underdog returns.
Dogs.
The undefeated underdog returns.
I have all favorites, and he has all dogs. Here we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
David versus Goliath.
Right, exactly.
I'm winning.
I do not want to be David or I do not want to be Goliath in this.
I have to because I'm winning so much. I have to have the prosecuted narrative.
No, you're Goliath.
I'm like the Warriors now. No one believes in me.
Okay.
Simply no one believes in me.
Yeah, right.
I have overcome so much adversity.
Sure, Steph.
I had 2 pushes last week.
So it just Minnesota plus 3.5. Why do you like it? I mean, it does seem like Josh Allen might not play.
My primary thing that I'm gambling on here, which is this is not wishful thinking. I think people can tell I love Josh Allen. I love watching him play. He fascinates me as a person. I have a real admiration and slight obsession with the man.
Yeah, besides Lamar, is Josh Allen the most beloved quarterback in the NFL?
Because I just like that he's also just seeming like a dopey himbo. He's just like a wide, tall, happy lad.
Yeah,
who likes to golf and fish.
Yeah, he's great.
But he's seemingly not at full strength if he were to play, and he has a UCL and potential nerve injury in one of his arms, which to me is really concerning because if he's going to play, he will certainly be playing through pain.
Who's his backup?
Case Keenum?
Revenge game, baby.
Wow! Oh gosh, I didn't even consider that. This should have moved the line. This should have moved the line in Buffalo's favor even more.
Not really, but yeah. But I mean, one of the best backups in football.
Yes, I think he will give them capable, proficient play. That's just what Case Keenum does. Like you said, on the Vikings, he literally in a backup. He literally was he the backup when they won that playoff game? But they won that playoff game with him.
Yeah, they did. There was a Minneapolis Miracle.
Right.
Well,
he was in for Bradford, right?
He stepped in and just kind of took over.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he will definitely give them at least a high floor. I think. I just think that the way the Vikings are playing, the way that they're feeling, being 7-1, I think they're pretty confident and rightfully so. And I think if they continue to play mistake-free football, and also let's not forget, guys. This Bills defense, as well coached and awesome as they are and formidable as they are not at full strength. Micah Hyde's out for the season. Jordan Poyer's been kind of banged up. That's the reason he had to drive from Buffalo to Kansas City for that game, because he wasn't fully healthy to begin with and didn't think he was going to play. A few of their super, super important guys in the secondary are not fully healthy or completely out, and they're relying on lower level talent in those fields, in those areas of the field where for how they play, that the secondary is so important to how the Bills play. And if they get exploited somehow, that'll be really tough for them.
Right.
So the front four, of course, it's still pretty. You got Von Miller out there just demonizing people.
Yeah.
But I'm just banking on that Allen, either the slight loss of Allen at his top level, or the complete loss of Allen minimizes the potency of the Bills.
No
attack.
Gregory Rousseau either, or Matt Milano.
Yeah, oh boy, yeah, that to me
they
is
are
tough.
ravaged by injuries. I mean,
so one of their
Matt Milano's day to day.
So one of their most explosive edge rushers in Rousseau, and basically who I would consider the centerpiece of their defense in Milano, because he's just such an all-around talent and so smart, has such a head for the game. So
Yeah.
I could see this being a tough one, but we'll see. I also could be I don't even feel super confident about this one, if I'm going to be honest with you folks.
Yeah. God, I'm totally blanking on the name of the linebacker that plays alongside Milano.
Who? Edmonds?
Yes.
Trey
Tremaine
Edmonds?
Tremaine Edmonds. I was about
Yeah.
to say Trevante. Yeah, Tremaine Edmonds. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have that all be on his shoulders.
I'm annoyed because our listener Bill from the YouTube chat is not listening, and he thinks I always snub the Vikings, and here I am betting on the Vikings. So,
Oh, there you go.
Bill, if you listen to this later, you're welcome.
Yeah. And Tremaine Edmonds is day to day. Did you say that already?
No, if he's day to day too, jeez,
Yeah,
that's a lot of guys on either day to day or on the
Rest
injury
up,
report.
Bills. We all
Yeah.
want you to win the Super
Yes,
Bowl.
literally.
but not this week, because I want you to beat Bradley.
Oh wow.
But
wow.
I think that's a really good bet by you. All right, I'm finally doing. I'm taking the Giants. It just.
Wait, sorry. Someone said in the YouTube chat. Don't mean to interrupt you. Martin from the YouTube chat. Also, Stephon Diggs revenge game. Obviously.
Right.
Totally missed that one as well. Two prominent former Vikings.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like
It's been a while.
It's been
he's
a
a Bill
while,
now.
and
He's basically a Bill.
He's
now.
happier. He's
Yes,
happier.
certainly
Here. So it's not even revenge. Like they did what he wanted, and they traded him.
Yes.
To a place
Now
where,
he's like having a good time.
Yeah, he's having the best time.
Oh, and another one of my tactics, Emma, betting on your team.
I know. I don't know why I did this,
I
but
think you're
just
copying me a little bit.
perhaps, but I am not taking dogs, which is your thing. I thought about Titans minus 2.5 against the stupid Broncos, but at the same time, I just don't know if Malik Willis is playing or not, and I think he looked pretty bad in the final half of that game against the Chiefs. Not his fault. He needs time to develop. We've all known that. He does have some great tools, but then
Right,
you know,
you're right. Like first half was he had a much better showing, but he's a great runner. But it's just like it's a lot to put on him.
yeah, and I thought about the Steelers plus 1.5 at home versus the Saints, but I just can't bet on the Steelers again this year. I told myself I wouldn't because they've burned me so many times. And then the Cowboys minus 4.5 in Green Bay. That would probably have been the one I felt best about other than this Giants game. But the Giants are at home. The Texans suck, and I don't think Lovie Smith is a good coach. I think he's yet another sacrificial lamb for this just really trashy organization to discard another black coach so they can hire fucking Josh McCown or something like that.
But you
later
also
on.
just know what he is.
Yeah.
He's a known quantity. There's no ingenuity or creativity from Lovie Smith because don't get me wrong. He's a legend in the game, but he's established as to what he likes to do on offense and defense, and he doesn't change that. It's like having Gus Bradley as your coach.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you are going to get from that
100%, 100%, and that's why it's so clear that he's not a long-term. He took the job probably knowing that gonna get paid. He'll be gone next year, and they'll try to hire some evangelical Christian that
they'll find whoever goes to
owner
church
will
with Nick Casario or with Cal McNair.
Exactly. So I just feel like the Giants being only 4 points. 4 points? The Giants are 6-2, and the Texans are the worst team in the league.
Yeah, and I think they could totally exploit this defense. The defense is not good.
The defense is not good.
They have a few interesting young pieces, but that's not enough. They're not a good team.
So 4 points at home for the Giants against an opponent that has lost a bunch. And the Giants have big guys in the interior of their defensive line, like Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, who are really good at stopping the run. I know that Dameon Pierce is a star, but if you have a smart coaching staff and a team is one-dimensional and they can't pass, they are not a good passing offense, that's going to be a difficult time for Davis Mills and that Texans team.
What I will say about Dameon Pierce, though, and this, the only, don't get me wrong, I'm not watching a whole lot of Texans games, not chewing a lot of Texans tape. I know this because he's on my fantasy team, but he's been eating up yards, which is great, but they've been
not getting in the end
that's
zone.
the thing. They've been having trouble getting him in the red zone.
And
so
the
that's
Giants are
another
good
thing.
at that with bend don't break. So plus if you make them one-dimensional, I mean, you're going to get some creative blitzes from Martindale, and it's going to rattle Davis Mills, I feel like. I'm worried a little bit because Xavier McKinney broke his hand on an ATV, and he's been one of the most. And honestly, it's just he's been really durable.
No
this year.
ATVs during the season, guys.
I know he was in Cabo on a sightseeing tour, and I can see how like maybe it got turned over and something happened. You thought it was low risk.
Every time the housewives go on an ATV or something like that, they flip over.
I know.
It's never a good idea.
And of course, like Jihad Ward, who's on the team, I follow like all the Giants players on social media. He posted like a few days before him doing a wheelie on an ATV.
Like stop doing
ATVs.
that. I thought that was in the contract. By the way, just real quick, Jihad Ward, love that guy.
Yeah,
great player.
Great player. I mean, he's not a great player, but he's a perfect system fit for exactly
but
what
I always see him doing like the stuff you need to be done.
Yeah, no, he's a good player.
He's always like, I feel like doing at his assignment, like playing hard. Like I feel like he's a good solid presence on that defense, even if like you said he's not like always the explosive play guy.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
Giants -4. Feel like I'm setting myself up for a really emotional loss, but I just felt like that was just way too little of a spread.
Yep.
But anyway, final pick for you, Bradley.
All right. Again, not super excited about this one, but you know what? When I bet on the Cardinals last time on Thursday Night Football, Andy Dalton did throw 2 pick sixes in a row.
And the Rams look like garbage.
And the Rams look bad. They just lost a rock fight to the Bucs last week. Offense does not look like it really has much juice. I think we can contribute that to a little bit of a regression from Matt Stafford, not as much continuity on the line. You know, Whitworth retiring, Austin,
and Stafford's in concussion protocol.
Oh, he's in concussion protocol, so perhaps he might not be playing. What's that? Austin Corbett's no longer with the team. He's on the Panthers now, one of their Super Bowl linemen. Joe Noteboom is the replacement for Whitworth, who is he's an okay player, but he's not nearly what Whitworth was on the left side. And it's basically as of now because they've still been struggling to get Allen Robinson going. Their weapons outside of Cooper Kupp are basically Ben Skoranek. He's an okay guy, more of a fullback almost in terms of how he's used. Tyler Higbee. So Kupp can shoulder a decent load, but he can't do everything. And as we've been seeing, which I think is the reason why they were trying pretty hard to move him before the deadline, Cam Akers hasn't really been able to get anything going on the ground. He's not really. He's been kind of a real disappointment throughout his career with the Rams. Unfortunately, I feel like basically Darrell Henderson got so much more run even in their playoff run last year.
Yeah. Well, last year
and he was injured.
Last
correct?
year Akers was injured and only came. He tore his Achilles and came back for the playoffs. So that's why Darrell Henderson was getting that.
But even in the playoffs, I think Henderson was maybe getting
it's
a little
hard
bit...
coming off the Achilles.
No, of course.
Yeah,
I guess what I'm saying is I think it's a combination of lackluster play when healthy and the injury concerns with him.
Right.
That he's had a rough go in LA. So this is again not really a pick, more to be super bullish on the Cardinals, because I still think even with DeAndre Hopkins back, this team is kind of dysfunctional, and I don't really know exactly what they're trying to accomplish on either end of the ball, even though some of Vance Joseph's defenses, just because he's a good defensive coach, are really capable and are really kind of fun to watch because they're just so blitz happy. It's not really like a endorsement of the Cardinals, it's more an indictment of the Rams that I think that they're at. That I think I'm almost surprised that they're favored over the Cardinals.
And with 1.5, that's basically a pick 'em. So I mean, I would pick the Cardinals straight up as well in a neutral site. So, and it's the Rams. So.
Right? Because what were we saying? Kind of the rule is there.
Usually the rule of thumb's been 2.5 for home point advantage, and we've had an IMer write in and correct me when I said 1.5. But apparently, just the trends of home field advantage have been going away ever so slightly. So. It depends on the book, I think, but
okay. Gotcha.
It might be 1.5. I don't know.
Yeah, because I see 1.5 here, and I'm like, this. I think it's basically even.
Yeah.
Especially given the quality of the both teams, I don't think either one has a huge advantage.
No.
So we'll see.
That's it, guys. We have those are our picks for NFL Week 10. Fun stuff.
Oh, I can't wait not to lose again.
Yeah. We'll see. All right,
clip that Zeke if I go 0-3.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in and dealing with. We had just a quick technical difficulty at the beginning.
Sorry about that, folks.
It's all good. check us out on Apple or Spotify, on podcast platforms, rate us 5 stars. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we will have clips of this show and our big flagship show, which is still on the Majority Report channel, but soon enough it'll be here. And see you on Monday, guys.
Bye bye.